Hello and welcome to the Mook and the Mess podcast. I'm Keegan, I'm the Mess.
And I'm Ethan, I'm the Mook, letting you know that this week you too can become a podcaster.
So what's new with the Mook and the Mess podcast? Well, let's start off. I really hope you've noticed that we have music now for our intro, and later you'll notice our outro music.
It's pretty great. We debated on it for quite a while, but I dig the intro music a lot. It's one of my favorite soundtracks, and I'm sure you guys will like it. I'm sure you feel uplifted by it like I did.
And in case you aren't familiar with the piece, it's from the anime My Hero Academia. The name of the song is You Can Become a Hero, and would you look at that, it's relevant to today's episode, because today we're going to be talking about the My Hero Academia franchise.
Woo!
Ethan and I have been real excited for this. This is probably our favorite anime out there right now, or at least it's mine.
It is pretty great. I love My Hero.
Absolutely. So Ethan, we actually took a week off. My voice was gone last week, and Ethan and I were drowning under studying. So what have you been up to over the last 2 weeks, Ethan?
Right. So other than, the obligations that I won't get into, like schoolwork and all that, I have been on a pretty good media binge. I saw Your Name again, as well as Garden of Words, which are both anime films directed by Makoto Shinkai, and Kyle, who's my brother, and his girlfriend. Your Name is both one of their favorite movies now. I have never seen someone cry so much during a film, but his girlfriend was in ballistic tears towards the end of that one.
Oh man, I believe it.
Yeah, I still absolutely love Your Name. I mean, I checked in my 7th time watching it, but it's still a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. Also saw A Silent Voice, which is animated by my favorite anime studio, Kyoto Animation. My 2nd time watching that, it's one of the only anime that I actually read the manga for beforehand.
Oh, okay.
It definitely delves into some pretty heavy stuff, like bullying, depression. But I still have some problems with the film, like just how it's laid out, not necessarily the content, but I still enjoyed it. It was a nice film to watch. And then I also started Maniac, the new Netflix show with skinny Jonah Hill and blonde Emma Stone.
I gotcha, yeah. That looked very good. What is it, like they're on drug trips and stuff and going to all these different universes?
Yeah, without going into too much detail, I guess, in case anyone here would want to watch it, which I think you should. Emma Stone is a bit of an addict, and Jonah Hill is a schizophrenic mess. So, very, very good directing. Like most Netflix produced shows, the production values are very, very high for a television show, and then
who is
it's always visually interesting.
Doctor character in the trailers is famous too, but I can't place the actor's name.
Yeah, the Japanese man or the white man.
The white man.
Yeah. He does look familiar. I can't place him either.
He's definitely been in some other movies I've seen.
Yeah, but it's definitely. I'm only about 3 episodes in so far out of 10. There's a lot of symbolism, and they built this. They do a really good job of like putting in little tidbits to flesh out the world in the background. That if you pay attention, you can tell it's like a really different kind of universe, which is always fun to see.
Yeah, that is really cool.
But what about you? What you been up to?
Not a whole lot. So, actually, it's been kind of a crazy week. Not to get too far into it, but so last weekend, when we weren't doing the podcast, I went up to Charlotte, saw some old friends. So shout out to Sydney, Peyton, and Stokey if you guys are listening. Had a fun time in Charlotte, and then a couple days later, I was just working, and I got bitten by a spider, and it I almost passed out at work. I got super lightheaded. The poison actually killed some of my skin and some of the hair on my leg. And so I've been recovering pretty much all week. It's been rough.
But you are not Spider-Man yet.
I'm not
correct?
Spider-Man yet,
Is,
and
is
that's
that
what's
right? Yeah,
really pissed me
yeah.
off the most. Um, so I got to just go jump off some buildings and see if the fight or flight kicks in with spider powers. If not, I'm in trouble.
I was wondering when you first told me about this if maybe you weren't gonna become Spider-Man, if you become Man Spider, like Man Bat from the DC verse.
Yeah, just like grow 4 more arms or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I
that'd
mean,
be kind of cool.
either way, really. Spider gods, if you're listening, either way is fine with me. But to kind of dive into the media I've been consuming, so I've been watching more JoJo. Like I said, I've taken on that adventure.
Are you gonna get it in time?
No, but I'll be close.
No. Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, I know. But then I've also been I picked up playing The Witcher 3 again because
Right.
I never finished the DLC, so I wanted to go through the story mostly because I forgot what it was about and I forgot how to play.
Oh man, that's such long games.
Every time I play The Witcher, it ends up just becoming like Gwent, the video game. And I just play the card game against everybody and stop caring about the actual game. It's amazing. It's incredible. Would recommend.
Speaking of card games and games, I forgot to mention this, but we started hopefully a recurring weekly board game night.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that'll
that
be
was actually a
fun.
lot of fun. Hopefully, if we can keep doing that, it'll be really cool. We do have some intention to eventually bring part of that into the podcast, see if we can actually put that in an audio format that would be entertaining to hear. But
Yeah, just we'll make that a Patreon goal to see what the subs
all right, you
want.
can't talk about Patreon goals if you don't have a Patreon set up for us. So that's where I draw the line.
There will be a Patreon once we have enough money to justify having a Patreon. But
Sure.
yeah, eventually.
Oh yeah, and so also coming up on the horizon, next episode 5, is going to feature our first guest on the show, Greg, an old friend of Ethan and I's. And if all goes according to plan, this will also be our first drunk episode where we get very
Yes.
drunk watching a movie and then just hit record and see what happens.
Yes, I have not heard much about the film other than it is a classic Japanese film that is also bad or perceived to be bad.
Film is Rikki-O, if any of you out there
Rikki-O.
know it, because I've never heard of it before.
I have never once heard of this, but I also am just now getting into film.
Yeah, same. We don't really know anything about film, so
Yeah.
that's about where we are. So are you ready to dive into My Hero Academia, Ethan?
Yeah, let's do it. So,
All right. So first of all, what is it?
what is My Hero Academia? So it started off as a manga serialization by Horikoshi. Let's see. This was one of the newest Shonen Jump titles.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been running for probably if the anime started in
I think
13, was it? Or 14?
No, it was.
Was it 15? It was 15.
It was
Anime
easily
started at
15 or 16. Yeah, it's only been like
Anime
3
started
years
in
now.
2015. So manga probably has been going for 6, maybe 5. Six
I
to
would say
7
5
maybe?
based on how far ahead I know the show is,
Yeah.
because the manga's probably twice as far ahead as the anime is right now, as
Right.
someone who hasn't read the manga.
Right. So it's a superhero, kind of a celebration of like old school classic Western heroism, featuring Izuku Midoriya as our protagonist.
Yeah,
And-
it's the story of Izuku Midoriya, a boy born in a world with superpowers, and he's the only one born without superpowers at all. And then
Well,
Yeah.
the only one that we're introduced to at first.
well, he's one of a small minority. It's like
yeah.
less 20%, less than 20%.
Yeah, less than 20%, but in his generation, even less than that,
And-
because it's become more common.
And he's constantly ostracized for it by his peers, even though his only dream is to become a hero. So he decides not to let anything set him back and decides to become a hero anyways, working harder than everyone else, until one day he meets his idol, All Might, the number one pro hero, who tells
And
him,
he asked, "Can I?" Oh my God, dude!
Yeah.
Can I become a hero? Yeah, the one thing that I'll probably get into more as we talk about the podcast is, especially in the early season, I cried so many times, like just tears streaming down my face. I something about this show really hit me
It
in the feels.
it tugs at your heartstrings. Those first 5 episodes,
Yeah,
most of all, definitely brought a lot of tears out of me as
but
well.
I guess before we get too deep into it, spoiler alert: we will be going up through episode 62
Yeah.
of the anime, and then also the recently released, as of this time, anime original film.
Yep.
So
So that's season 1,
disclaimer
season
there.
2, a good bit of season 3, and the movie The Two Heroes.
Yes.
So yeah, so Izuku's hero All Might decides to take him under his wing and teach him how to become a hero, while also transferring his powers to him.
Yeah.
Yep, just for some plot points there, in case anybody hasn't seen it, and it's the beginning of his story of becoming a hero.
Yeah. Becoming the greatest hero of all time. How I became the greatest hero. Ooh.
The show has an amazing cast of supporting characters. The entire class of UA, which is a hero high school Izuku attends, are all amazing. And then
Yeah,
there's
so you see a lot of fun power interactions, just how different power ups interact with each other, both in casual use and then also in fights.
and then we also have Kachan, Katsuki Bakugo. He's not really the antagonist of the show, but in the first season you might believe so because he's Izuku's bully from childhood, who also gets into the same class of UA as Izuku, and constantly needs to prove that he's better than Izuku. And so he's constantly putting him down.
Right. Some other key characters, just that we'll probably touch on again, just to give you a briefing. We have Shoto Todoroki, a student at UA who is one of the best students. He got in by recommendation. He can control fire and ice, using his left side to control fire, his right side for ice. And his father is the number 2 hero, the hero behind All Might. And his father's name is Endeavor, and he has flame powers.
So his father's a kind of a bitter old man, but Todoroki is seen through the rigorous training his father put him through at an incredibly young age. Todoroki has become a child prodigy, stronger than most pro heroes out there already. But that's not enough. His father wants Todoroki to be the one to surpass All Might, so he's another contender kind of looking for the number 1 position from Izuku and Bakugo.
And then after that, those are the main. I think those are all the main characters we'll talk about. So
Yeah, we can.
anyone else that comes up, we can bring up as we talk about them.
That sounds
But,
good. Yeah, so definitely, if you ever get a chance, watch My Hero Academia. It's honestly the best thing that's still coming out on TV, like the best running TV show right now, in my opinion. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. Again, it is an anime, but it's actually become incredibly popular in the United States. It has a great English sub or dub over. But yeah, would recommend.
This is one. Yeah, this is one that I'd say is very popular among anybody. Like it, if you like anything to do with superheroes, I would definitely say give it a try. Like anything at all with the concept of superheroes, My Hero Academia is definitely worth a shot.
Yeah, if you've ever tried to be really good at a sport or some other skill, then this will definitely kind of have a hold on, be able to play with your emotions a little bit.
Yeah. If you ever, sat outside in your yard trying to scream to where you could become a Super Saiyan, I would recommend watching this as well. I did that a lot as a kid, but apparently Keegan did not. So my childhood was just leagues better.
Yep, leagues. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Did you,
So I guess since we just watched it and it's not too relevant to the plot itself of the anime, let's talk about that movie.
Yeah, let's do it. I really liked it. I thought it was definitely a good bit cheesier than the rest of the anime.
Right.
But it was really good. It gave us a lot of background on All Might's younger ages, and what he was like when he was still becoming the number one hero. So many parallels between Deku, Izuku, and All Might. We're kind of seeing an All Might. So at this point in the movie, he still had his powers and could use muscle form, but it was
Right.
running out quickly. So this is right before he loses his ability to become a hero altogether. So this All Might is kind of useless pretty effectively once the villains start attacking, leaving the solution to save the day up to Deku and his classmates.
Yes, and then Deku and his classmates go through some pretty standard like final boss is at the top of the tower setup. But there's a lot of cool fight combinations and quirks. I really liked Bakugo's and Todoroki's banter slash like power setups. Probably my favorite moment outside the climax was the nitroglycerin
Oh
caught
yeah,
by the flame.
that was
That was just a really clever setup.
that was very good. I mean, when you saw Bakugo looking at the guy like, oh, he just like displaces things, right? That you could kind of see that idea
Yeah.
forming too. So it was a very
Right.
great setup.
Yeah,
I very much
I'd
liked
say
it.
I'd say overall this is something I'll get into more when we talk more in depth about the characters, but I'm a big fan of slice of life as a whole, like as a genre, I guess. But something about the first half of this film, I didn't really enjoy too much. I liked it once it got into the action a lot. If you watch it again, you can tell both in the background artwork and the detail of the faces. Like the first half of the film, if you were to watch it, you can see everyone who has glasses on, any scene that is not like a full on face shot of them, the glasses obscure their eyes.
Cutting
And
costs.
that's purely because it takes too much time to draw in eyes for them. And I mean, this is like Melissa and Dave for the entire film for the first half.
Wow, yeah.
For the first half, the entire first half. A lot of times, like Deku's face will be like very undetailed. That's just something that I take pretty big attention to like high animation quality and like character design quality, but definitely the last half was ridiculously well animated. The fight scenes were just crazy good. Like I said, there's a lot of hype moments. We're based out of South Carolina for anyone who doesn't know, and being in South Carolina at one point, All Might puts on a Carolina Smash, and everyone in my theater just got up and cheered.
You know, the theater I went to, they did not get up and cheer, so I was kind of upset.
You should have did be the change.
Yeah, I didn't want to see that happen, so I didn't cheer. um,
Did you also catch the All Might JoJo posing?
no, I missed it. Oh my god.
So,
right at the end when they were doing that.
Right at the end,
Yeah,
he
I
just
totally
like
saw that.
buffs. He just absolutely buffs up. Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, we won't get too deep into the movie because, like I said, it wasn't exactly too relevant to the series as a whole. But I did enjoy it. I thought it was a good movie
Overall, yeah.
I loved
For
the fight scenes.
An hour and a half, it wasn't bad at all. But yeah, I don't think it really added anything too special to it. But so let's kind of talk about where My Hero Academia fits into the superhero genre as well as kind of the shonen anime genre.
Yeah. So this is a topic that we'll probably stop talking about with this unless we somehow cover, I guess, Worm or maybe like the latest DCU entry. But we've talked about superhero culture a lot in the previous podcast, and how they fall into play. I'd say, just based off our previous discussions, My Hero Academia comes in kind of after the cynicism of something like Watchmen or kick ass with a playful cynicism.
Well, I kind of see
Like,
it as a rebirth of the genre through the cynicism.
yeah, like
Yeah,
it
I
shows,
agree with you.
yeah, like being a hero is a great thing. It takes up like the mantle of the early ideas of what it is to be a hero, right? Like,
Well, I think it's saying that despite the points that something like Watchmen or Kick-Ass brings up, that heroes are people too, and everybody has some darker or shittier side to them. It says
yeah,
these people are they have limitations, they have negative
right,
sides to their personality, but they're still going out and saving people when they can. Not
right,
necessarily because they are making money off of it, which they are. That's an incentive for them, but because it's something that they should be doing, despite
yeah.
the fact that they may not be perfect people.
I mean, even looking at from a visual standpoint, right? My Hero is such a bright, colorful show, like maybe 80% of the time.
Yeah,
Whereas you look at something like Zack Snyder's DC verse, everything is dark and grimy looking. Like you don't ever want to be there. It's raining all the time.
uh huh.
So just the overall presentation, it gives off a much more brighter feel to it.
No, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I as far as like, and this is maybe something that I don't want to say is a widely shared comment by people who don't like it, but just at least among Reddit, a lot of people in the Reddit anime communities will say stuff like, I don't understand how people like it. It's, everything's predictable, which, like the good guys aren't going to die, the bad guys are going to lose. It's not something like Hunter x Hunter, where at one point the protagonist never even meets the major antagonist of the arc, which was absolutely insanity to me that that didn't happen.
Are you talking
it's
Gone and the King?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like they never once met, which is ridiculous in most shonen most battle shonen anime.
Well,
That's
yeah. I mean, it is formulaic, but I think they try to kind of salvage that with the aftermath sort of pieces. I think those
Yeah.
are a lot more meaningful to My Hero than they
Yeah.
are to most.
And
Because most superheroes are like, well, everything went back to normal after a while. Whereas something like Stain,
Yeah.
a bunch of kids
and
shouldn't have.
and that's something that I don't have I agree that it is formulaic as well, but I don't necessarily have a problem with it.
Yeah,
For me,
my point is I enjoy it.
execution always trumps premise to me. There's like a pretty common mantra that every story has already been told somewhere, which that's pretty true just because of how long
I
creative works have
100%
been.
agree. There's no new stories in Hollywood. I guess that's
Yeah.
true of Tokyo as well.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but
I do agree that it doesn't really matter as long as the execution is well. And I think so many parts of My Hero just nails what it's trying to do correctly, right?
yeah, it's not that they tell a 100% original and new story, although, I'd argue that they do. It's that they tell the story so well, it may as well be the first time it's told because it's
Yeah.
done better than many of its predecessors.
Right. I think too, for a lot of people, your enjoyment of the show, especially early on, especially like in the first season, lies on how much you empathize / connect with Midoriya. Like if you dislike Deku, you're going to have a very hard time enjoying anything about this show.
Yeah, if you dislike Deku, you got to start like season 2, and even
Yeah,
then you
which-
probably won't enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's to me like one of the best / worst things about the show is that it relies very heavily on Deku. I mentioned this further, like I might mention this later on in more detail, but in my opinion, the show is very reliant on a few core characters, despite how big the world can be.
And that's what I like is that the world is huge and that they'll constantly choose new side characters to be along to kind of flesh out with the main characters, but kind of the main cast or the favorite characters or whatever you want to call them are always there.
Yeah, we can talk about more about this later. I think this might be a point of contention for the two of us because it's something I actually dislike about the show, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So, let's go ahead and we've been talking about Deku a fair bit, and we mentioned this during the Kick-Ass podcast. But what exactly makes a hero, right? I listened to the Kick-Ass podcast again. I love listening to myself talk, so I gave it a listen, and I realized I flip-flopped a lot on whether Kick-Ass was a hero or not. And I contradicted myself outright no less than 4 times during that podcast.
And that's what it means to be a hero.
Yeah. Kick-Ass is not a hero, okay? He's not. Deku is. And I think what All Might says is pretty much like my description of what it is to be a hero, right? Your body moves without you even thinking. It's a hero's job to meddle when he's not wanted, like that. And to do good while doing that, of course, not to come up and fuck everything up. But I think to me that is what makes a hero. That's why Deku is a hero. Why All Might saw, a potential hero in Deku.
I completely agree with you. I think what a hero is to me, it's, I guess, so not to break this down too much to lose its meaning, but I think, a crime or someone doing bad really comes down to their motivations for it. And I think, it's kind of the same way, the mental state or the motivation of the hero, not necessarily like good intentions outweigh someone's actions, but I'm kind of thinking more along the lines of the selfless intent, the selfless motivation of somebody's in need and they need help and I'm not getting anything out of it is what makes someone a hero. Especially when, like Deku or All Might or someone is afraid of the situation they're facing, they're smiling to trick the fear and make that person feel okay all the way throughout, and their life is on the line, no less. I think those are kind of the triangle of heroism for me.
Yeah, I'd agree on all that. So we've established what a hero is. We both agree that Deku is a star hero. Mm-hmm. Opinions on Bakugo.
So
from the start,
okay, yeah.
When you first watched it, too.
When I first watched it, I really disliked Bakugo. And I mean, part of that was just how hard I was relating with Deku.
Yeah.
And as the series has gone, I mean, I've always seen him as wanting to be a hero and wanting to do heroic things rather than just being driven by a will to win in fights against everybody. Because I've always known there's more to them than the face value. But this most recent arc with the Deku v Kachan fight 2, really,
yes, that was phenomenal.
I'd say end of season 2 sports festival, beginning of season 3 was when I started to really change my opinion on him. And then when the League of Villains captured him and he fought with everything he had to get away, that was when I was like, all right, Kachan's a hero too, he just also has a long road ahead of him.
Right. Yeah. So this is an odd thing because I saw a lot of myself in Deku, right? In his struggles and stuff from a sports perspective, right? I've always been athletic, but I was never like, I couldn't make varsity without having to try my damnest, right? Without having to train every day. I couldn't ever be the best, right? But in academics, I saw a lot of Kachan in me. Bakugo is just so assholey arrogant in his ways. I mean, he just looks down on everybody around him, thinks he's far superior because he is, and especially growing up, I acted a lot like Bakugo. I mean, to a scary degree, which I probably I'm not necessarily proud.
That.
I'm not necessarily proud of that, but I used to get in trouble sometimes because of some of the stuff I would say to kids who didn't achieve as high scores in their tests.
Well, okay, so I agree with you. I think through the entire show, from the whole point, I think I've also been able to really identify with both those characters. And I think a lot of people will be able to. I don't think that's just a you and me thing. But yeah, because I've always been involved with a pretty small sport that I started in middle school. And, it was something that I didn't really have any natural talent for. I was never really an athletic kid, but a coach kind of took an interest in me and was like, hey, if you work at this, you will get good. And that's kind of where I see myself in Deku. But again, in academics growing up, I was always very above average. A lot of people actually thought I was much smarter than I was. I don't think I ever acted so much like Kachan, but I definitely kind of got spoiled and stopped working because of all the praise people gave me, kind of in the way he did.
Yeah.
So I definitely had a lot of the same issues he did growing up.
So does anything that he does to Midoriya, especially season 1, does that preclude him from being a hero in your opinion?
Well, I don't see it that way. I see he's capable of heroic things. He does heroic things, and they don't necessarily make the shitty things he does any better.
Right.
But at the same time, the shitty things he does doesn't mean he can't be a hero ever because of them.
I agree there. Okay, we're on the same page then.
Yeah.
Because
So it's like,
especially
it sucks that he did that because he was definitely the antagonist or villain to most of Midoriya's life.
Yeah.
But outside of that, to other people, he has friends in the classroom, people who think he can be a hero.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, especially now, there's no reason why he shouldn't be a hero. So yeah, there's some contention, especially early on, but it's fine now, I think, which is a great thing that more people are getting on the Bakugo train.
Choo choo.
On the Bakugo bomb.
Yeah. So let's talk about Endeavor then. He's definitely even more of a gray character. So he's the number 2 pro hero who's just kind of become twisted and bitter, trying to surpass All Might.
Yeah. So
there's a really horrible scene early on of Shoto Todoroki's childhood. He's in Midoriya's class, and Endeavor, his father, was training him to become a hero. And you see he gets punched in the stomach by his father so hard he's throwing up. And his mother runs in to protect him, and his father's like, no, he should be capable of more. He's already 5 years old. So,
And then Endeavor starts beating his mom.
Pro hero is beating his wife and child.
Yeah. So, to me, this is a pretty... I flip-flop on this a lot. In general, like... And Endeavor's a good case to bring this up with because there's concrete evidence or like concrete example, I guess, of utilitarianism versus like kind of personal or subjective moralism.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is the number 2 hero because he saves a ton of people. I mean, in the host city incident, right? Like with Stain. He saved no less than, probably 50 people during that incident, right?
And that's just there. Directly.
Yeah, saved lives. But he also absolutely ruined the lives of many of his family members. And
Very true. I know a manga spoiler that I won't say here, but I know later on Horikoshi started kind of characterizing Endeavor in a good light. And started receiving, death threats for it from fans.
It's always good to have more complex characters. If he's just a jackass all the way through, then that's not as interesting. So that doesn't surprise me. But regardless, I just think this is one, in my opinion, where it's the reverse of Bakugo. Like, even though Endeavor does these good things, I don't think he's a hero personally. I think his actions preclude him from being someone that anyone should look up to.
Well, no, let's look at his motivations, though, for saving all those people. He's not doing it for those people's sake. He's doing it for his sake. Yeah. And that's what changes it on me. That's the difference between Bakugo and Endeavor for me.
Yeah. So, I personally don't see Endeavor as a hero in any sense of the word.
Well, while we're on the host city incident, Let's talk about Stain and his kind of ideology that not everybody can be a hero, and that in a world where everyone's told they can be whatever they want, then you have, kind of fake heroes who don't really deserve the title.
Right. So Stain would have occurred, I guess, depending on how you divvy up, probably the fourth arc of the anime slash manga.
I mean, I'd say Stain himself, that name kind of is its own arc right there. But yeah.
Yeah. But I'd say, so this is another one where, like, objectively speaking, he is doing more good than harm, because in every city that he murdered people, less crime was happening, and of those crimes, I'm sure some of them were murders.
Well, it's a Machiavellian thing. Does his means justify a higher security rate?
Yeah, I think his motives were certainly good at first. I'm talking like university student Stain, not hero killer Stain.
Yeah,
but
philosophy student with swords here.
Yeah, his methods to go about it were definitely messed up. To kill others in the hopes that it stops killing, and these were innocent heroes, albeit maybe something shows up later that shows Ida's brother is some kind of jackass on the side, or he does things.
Yeah, he's got some jackassery on the side. We gotta cut him down.
Yeah, but to have paralyzed him for life just because he went to stop him seems a bit like a wrong move, morally speaking, which I think it is.
Well, it's such an arbitrary thing. Like, if you can beat me and my quirk, then you deserve to be a hero, but otherwise not.
Yeah.
I mean, different quirks work in different situations. They're not. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think Stain is an interesting character. He's very much an anti-hero kind of slash villain that you can see the logic, right? If you don't look too closely, and some people will agree no matter what, but if you don't look too closely, it makes sense that what he's doing is correct and justify the means for his actions. But I personally don't think so. At least from the terms, if we have the backdrop of Deku is a hero, then no, Stain is not. In any sense, he is not a heroic person.
Yeah, he's not a heroic person. He's a person with a goal, and arguably he achieves that goal.
I love Stain. I think he's a badass, but
not a hero.
Yeah, no.
Well, I think that's kind of the most interesting thing. So we've danced around this point a lot, talking about each of these individual characters, but I really love Horikoshi's style of writing these complex characters that are obviously human, obviously have limitations like All Might, or personal issues or personality things like Bakugo or Endeavor. And even though, they have this, kind of gray morality, and a lot of the public will think Endeavor's a jackass. They're still, all heroes. All of the public in the anime really love heroes. They worship kind of the culture of it almost. And so that positive light of, just people achieving it, I really like seeing. And I think that's something that is either done way too heavy-handedly in a lot of movies or other media, or is kind of just glossed over entirely by kind of like Avengers and Justice League and stuff like that.
Yeah, they definitely is helped along by the fact that that everyone has a lot of people have quirks. That hero culture is just integrated into normal society, which helps the setting along in that sense, right? That there can be celebrity heroes and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I don't know, it's just a perspective that I don't think I've ever really seen directly this way before.
Right.
But then, so how do you feel about the character Sue? Throughout the series, so she's Frog Girl. And when her
quirk is that she can do everything a frog can.
Which,
that's her quirk.
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. like word for word. That is her
My
quirk.
favorite was when she was like, "Hold up, let me spit out my stomach and wash it real quick." And like
Dude,
it actually helped
did you see
out.
all the Did you see all the animes after that one?
I did not. I did not. I wish I did
So
now.
if you if you see the screenshot of her after she spit it all out, she's like tied up with drool over her face and her eyes are kind of crossed over.
Oh
and
no. Oh
Yeah,
no.
so as soon as that episode came out, I mean, within 25 minutes, there were tons of edits about it showing the usual.
Yep. Great.
But yeah,
But
in case you wanted to know,
yeah, when Deku and the Deku squad broke out to save Bakugo, Sue kind of chastised them, saying that them going out and acting without their hero licenses and using their quirks in public, even though it was to save Bakugo, could get in the way of the professional heroes, and these actions were the same actions as villains. What do you think about that? I don't know.
I think she's a fucking idiot.
Okay.
I hate her for saying this.
I don't hate her, but you and I are in agreement. Like, just because the actions are the same doesn't mean the results, the motivations, any of that was the same.
It's such a narrow-minded view on like morality that I can't even comprehend how. Like, she's pretty much just saying, the law is like legality equals morality.
Well, and I think it's easy to say. I think Sue's a character, and we don't know too much about her background, but from what we've seen of how she acts, how she is around people, it seems like she's been very sheltered from a lot of the awful things that Deku, Kachan, all of them have had to deal with. And kind of through that sheltering, she kind of doesn't really see the need for them to act as much as Deku does.
Yeah,
I agree with you. She's kind of, I don't necessarily agree with her. She's a little too harsh on them.
I mean, I could see that, but at the same time, like, I guess the idea of where she's coming from, right, is that Hero Society works because we have agreed to follow these rules. And if you disregard the rules, then you disregard the structure that we have now, and everything could fall apart. Because heroes are sanctioned by the government because they follow these guidelines.
Well, and I definitely agree that the kids who broke out to help Bakugo definitely deserve to be punished. I mean, they broke the rules. That's how it works. But
yeah.
I still wouldn't say they were wrong.
No. I think that's my biggest issue with her is just she chastises them as if she is better than them for not doing that. Like it's just this air of you shouldn't have done that. I told you shouldn't have done that. And then she like makes a pity party about herself afterwards.
Oh my god. Okay. So like I was like, you know what? Good for her for having an opinion that's different from what everyone else thinks. And then she starts bawling about it. Dear God, Sue. Like, you knew they didn't agree with you. What'd you think they were going to do? Just listen?
Yeah, I honestly, this is a bit of a tangent, but I don't get how she has such a big fandom because I don't see anything about her character as particularly unique.
Because she's a thick frog girl.
I mean, is that it?
I don't know, man.
Is that really it? Like,
I'm not a part of this fandom. I don't know.
I just don't get it. But yeah, anyways, that's my take on her ideas on legality and why I think she's fucking stupid for saying any of what she says there.
Fair enough.
So before we get into more thematic elements of it, outside of like heroism, let's talk. I try to do this every episode, but just a bit about the technical aspects behind the show.
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into that. Let's unpack that.
Shout out Sydney, Mr. Sydney. So let's see here. Favorite aspects about the show from a technical standpoint would definitely be the voice acting. I think the voice acting is just absolutely god tier.
And I didn't really realize this until I couldn't go to the Wednesday showing of the movie and had to go watch with the English subtitles. or English dubbing. God, why do I always do that? It's because they rhyme. But the English voice cast is also very good.
Oh yeah,
Not as good
yeah.
as the Japanese voice cast, but very close.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of the like big fight scenes on both just to see the differences. And to anyone listening, if you haven't checked out the anime but you want to watch it, and again, if you can't stand the sound of Japanese for whatever reason, or you're dyslexic, English dub is fine for this. Like I endorse it.
It's about
I
a
guess, one
year
thing.
behind. That's the only thing I would say is that.
Oh, it's not that far.
Well, it hasn't gotten to any of season 3 yet. So
Are you sure? I could. You sure?
I could
You
be
sure
wrong
about
on
that?
this, but I
I'm pretty sure they were stimulus doubling this one.
when they finished the summer camp arc, that was the last time I checked it. They didn't have any of the summer quirk camp bits on there. So
okay.
they're definitely behind, but they might be a lot closer now.
I mean, I know that they finished Muscular like a week or two after the Japanese subtitles
Okay.
or the Japanese dubbing.
Well then,
God.
I could be wrong on it then.
Yeah, because I watched Muscular in Japanese and English like within a week of each other.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely on me then.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's
Get it?
not that far delayed then, because it's
get it right, Keegan.
It's
well,
been-
if they're doing the movie, then they have to be pretty caught
I
up
know that.
too.
Well, the movie was after season 2, so you wouldn't miss anything if they did the movie immediately and then came back to season 3, is what I was thinking. But
Yeah, well, the way that like the dubbing process works, they would have the materials. Like, there's a quick turnaround for everything.
yeah,
But,
well, it's been, I mean, exponentially growing in popularity in the States. So I mean, there's definitely a high demand to get those out really quickly.
By the way, the movie did really well. I don't know if you knew that. Like box office.
I mean, it was
has
sold
been
out when
doing-
I was there. The theater had assigned seats,
Yeah.
but I bought tickets before the theater had assigned seats, so I was sitting in someone's seat, and then they came, and rather than be like, "Hey, you're in my seat," which is what I thought they were gonna do, they stood around like while the movie's playing. Like they came 30 minutes into the movie already.
Oh my god!
And then they like loudly complained to see if I would look up at them. Not to get into too much of a tangent here, but this actually kind of bothered me. Because, like, you know, if you come over and you're like, "Excuse me, sir, we bought tickets for these exact seats and the theater's full right now,"
Yeah, instead of being
you know, then
passive
it's my
aggressive
job to go do
bitch.
something. So I was
Yeah.
like, you know, the second they address me and just be like, "Hey," you know, then it's fine. But they're like looking at each other like, "Are you sure these are the right seats?" There are people, because I wasn't the only one in their seats either.
Yeah.
And they're like, "I think these are our seats." And then they walked back, and then they came back up, and they're like, "Yeah, no, I think like we're supposed to be sitting around here." And then they're just kind of like talking to each other, and then they're just like, "Oh my god, how rude is it that like someone would come and sit in someone else's assigned seat?"
Oh my god!
And then they
Oh my
left,
God.
and then a movie employee came in. And he was like, "Hey man, can I see your ticket stub? Like, I think you're just in the wrong seat. Like, I'll help you find." You know, the movie employee was actually super nice. And I show him mine, and I was like, "Hey, like, mine doesn't have a seat on it." And he's like, "Oh, well, we just started doing this week. It should have one on it." And I was like, "Well, I bought it last week, and I don't know what the thing is, but I never got a seat." And he was just kind of like,
Right.
"Oh," and then I guess, you know, shout out to this guy. He convinced them to reschedule it for another day or another time at that theater. So
Well,
like,
yeah, they should have. They missed the first
they
fucking
missed
30
the
minutes
first
of
who
it.
shows up. So okay, not only did I buy my ticket before them, but I got the, you know, first dibs rights. He's, you know, first come first served rights. I mean, 2 times I had them on that. But so yeah, my memory of minute 31 to minute 33 are a little fuzzy.
Not missing too much there. Don't worry.
No, I don't think I missed anything.
Yeah. So, anyways, back to what we were
Sorry
talking about. That was
to
a good,
derail it.
No, that was a good tangent. Yeah, I'd say especially, who am I thinking of? Shigaraki, All Might, Deku, Bakugo. Those 4, in my opinion, are just such good voice actors.
Oh, 100%. I actually haven't heard Shigaraki in the English. Oh, well, in the Japanese, he's
yeah.
great. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you
Yeah,
meant.
yeah, I haven't heard them in English, but I'd say the muscular fight was the first. Like I had really taken in
So
voice
that's
acting.
1,000,000%, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 1,000,000%
Just wanted to think
smash.
of the right fight.
Yeah, I had really liked the voice acting, but it wasn't anything that I would say like this is amazing. Like the voice acting itself puts this scene above and beyond what it could have been. Right, up for most of it up until that point. Maybe the Todoroki fight, but
Yeah.
other than that, I'd say for the most of it part, it was just like a means to an end. Mm-hmm. Like you need voice acting, right, for an anime.
Well, you need voices. Easy.
Yeah, but
Um,
but that muscular fight when he's like overtaken by muscular and then he starts apologizing to his mom in all might,
yep.
like
Oh
and
my
his voice
God.
cracks.
Oh my God.
I started bawling, and that's one thing that why I say the predictability doesn't matter, because Deku's not gonna die. Like that will not happen, but that doesn't matter because in that moment you almost forget that he's not gonna die here because he thinks he's gonna die, right? Like you're in his position.
Oh my. And then the just, as if I'm going to let you kill him.
Yeah, it's so good.
Oh my
that-
God.
And then even when he says the Delaware smash, like his voice is just cracking the whole time as he's screaming that.
Is this still muscular fight?
Yes, yeah. So the voice acting to me is by far the best part of the show from a technical standpoint.
Oh, it's incredible.
During really intense scenes, the animation, like I'd say overall, it does have consistent animation, but there's nothing like
Some of the
super
bits in the
amazing
first
about it.
season when it was showing like the world or like the cherry blossoms or him as a
Yeah.
student, the
Yeah,
beach
there's
especially
nothing-
was beautiful.
Yeah. The background, Bone Studio is the one that animates this. They have a lot of. If anyone out here watches anime, but like you're not big into the industry, Bones also does Noragami, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Mob Psycho 100. So just as
Love
a
Mob
heads up
Psycho.
there. Yeah, and but I will say one of the lead animators. He's like one of the most famous animators in the industry. Yutaka Nakamura. Mm-hmm. He's usually known for his cubes during scenes where the ground breaks. So if you ever see the ground, like someone punch the ground, right, and then cubes start flying into the air, like the ground kind of segments itself into cubes. It's a very famous technique that he does, and you see it during the final Boros fight in One Punch Man. You see it during the fight where Mob goes 100% against Kageyama. Yeah. And then you see it during the Todoroki v Deku fight, like cement toss puts up the cement and then all the cement like breaks into cubes, right?
Yep.
It's just a very distinct style of his. But any scene that he is the key animator on is fucking wild. He did the Todoroki fight. He also did Bakugo's Great Escape. Like
I hate you, but that was amazing.
that was insanity. If you the impact frames, which an impact frame is pretty much where like the whole screen will go black, right, and then it like gives it weight. Mm-hmm. But where Bakugo looks down and he smiles right before he shoots off into the stratosphere.
Oh my God, that was the most. That was the first time I cried in a scene that wasn't Midoriya.
Yeah, that was like pure tears of joy. I was just smiling so hard during that entire thing.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, I love that the soundtrack as you guys already heard from the beginning intro. I think the soundtrack is all good.
It's
like
fire,
even
and the OPs and EDs are great too.
I'm a big fan of that. I will say personally though, my one thing that I don't think is that great. I don't think the directing is actually that visually engaging most of the time.
What do you mean by that?
Like there's a lot of just cutting back to who's talking without it. Like there's hardly any like interesting angles that are used. A lot of it is like stock panning while people are talking or still shots of a room. the framing and composition of each shot,
Okay.
for the most part,
Fair
like
enough.
outside of fights.
I mean,
outside of fights, to me, like I off the top of my head, the most visually interesting, just like speaking scene where there's not fights going on would be the Todoroki episode where you learn about his origins.
yeah.
Like the way that the way that directing was and how it showed his mother and her face was hidden, and then it showed, her turning around, and all of a sudden he sees her eyes, and he mentioned it earlier. Like, off the top of my head, that is by far the best, but that's the only one that really sticks out to me, right? Like, because there should be scenes where even if it's two people talking, it can be interesting to watch them talk.
Even if the directing is pretty plain, bare bones most of the time, I mean, there still are some. Not every discussion is like that, but I agree with you. Most of them are kind of lacking.
And it doesn't have to be every time. It's just that's one thing that does. Like, if I had to put a knock on it, that would be my first go-to. Like, get a little more interesting visual style going on outside of the fight scenes.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you there.
But yeah. Anyways, that's all I got for any technical aspects, unless you have anything you like or really much dislike.
No, nothing to really add there. I don't know. I'm probably too starstruck to really have actual criticism of the show.
Then if that's the case, let's go ahead and talk a little bit. Not too much, because there's a YouTuber out there, Mother's Basement. He's an anime YouTuber, but you guys can go check him out if you're interested in this topic some more. But the progression of the OP and the symbolism there. So if you watch the OPs, a lot of people, like a lot of anime, will just have the OP as is an industry standard that you have a minute and 30-second long song and visuals to accompany it, to prime your viewers. It shows up after commercial breaks, and then also, like the way anime is funded, it'll be with production committees. So they have a music label on the production committee who helps fund the anime, and they need songs on there. That's why a lot of songs aren't like made for the anime; they're already out.
Yeah, I guess I've kind of noticed some of the symptoms of that, but I didn't know too much about the industry in that sense.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why it's there. But one thing that I always respect a show for doing is actually making the OP relevant in some way, like making it interesting outside of just cool cuts of the characters.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah, I'd say My Hero does it very well with the way that it shows the progression of All Might and Deku.
Yes.
Like, if
100%.
Yeah, like in the first one, and again, I'm pretty much just quoting off Mother's Basement here, which shouts to Mother's Basement for analyzing this. But in the first one, you have Deku looking up at All Might, and he's blinded by.
He's basically
by
crawling on the floor too.
Yeah, and like All Might is there standing, and he just like barely looks back, but before he completes the turnaround, it cuts out right to. And it shows the rest of the cast.
Yep.
And then the second one, you got Deku nervous smiling up at the sky. This is the peace sign. During tournament arc, and then All Might flying over, but there's still like a big distance between them. Then you got OP3, and then that's the one where it's like bathed in green light. Like the whole start of the OP is like in Deku's color scheme.
Yeah.
And then like All Might comes, and Deku has to turn around to see him. So like they slowly start switching, and then
the fourth one they're pushing him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just a really cool use of a minute and 30 seconds that I think helps symbolize the themes of the show. Passing on the torch, the fire of the village.
Yeah. God, there are actually so many parallels between My Hero and Naruto, though.
Horikoshi is a really big Naruto fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see that. I mean, there are definitely a lot of. I've even seen on the Boku no Hero subreddit, like chapter covers of the manga, like being direct parallels of the Naruto chapter covers.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean,
he puts in a lot of a lot of homages. I think my favorite that I'd seen was it was Tokoyami
Yeah.
when he first went crazy in the forest, right? It's a scene from a Spider-Man vs. Venom Marvel comic,
Oh my God, you're right.
and it looks absolutely amazing. Like, yeah, and because he's like a huge Spider-Man fan. But anyways,
That makes so much
there's
sense.
a lot of
Wow, yeah.
homages. There's a lot of homages like that throughout the manga anime.
And then yeah, there's kind of also the themes I really like. What we were saying with the OP, All Might and Deku, kind of that like father-son relationship. And in the movie, All Might brings Deku to Island, and Deku's like, "Is it really okay? You're really only supposed to bring like family and stuff." And All Might's like, "Our bond is a lot thicker than family."
Eat this.
Oh my God, I
Yeah,
saw
so
it was like
I
a meme or something today. It was probably on the same Boku no Hero subreddit. It was like it was like my brother got me a bag of fries. I opened it and it's a picture of him looking in and it has the "eat this" picture.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
It was
What a-
great.
What a legend.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but that movie ended with the father-son Kamehameha smash.
Yep.
So they're definitely father-son
Kamehameha
figures.
smash.
Which I really like because the whole thing with Deku and Midoriya or Deku and All Might is also paralleled like pretty heavily with Shigaraki and All for One.
Uh-huh.
Oh, not All for One, One for All.
Yeah. No, One for All is All Might and Midoriya's power. You were right with All for One.
Yeah, yes. Yes, I was right. Sorry. I'm tripping myself
We're
up.
at the hour mark
Yeah.
here. No one who's listening is going to be that upset with us.
Yeah,
and we've been talking for a while.
Anyways, All for One, they like it's a pretty clear parallel with especially the post climax of the Communal Ward fight with All Might versus All for One. All for One kind of chides All Might for going back to mentor Deku, whereas he says you have to distance yourself from your students so that they can grow.
Yeah, you have to let the little
And then-
birds
and
fly
then he
out of the
says-
nest.
Yeah, and then he says you're next again. I think I'm not sure personally where this is gonna go.
Yeah.
Just because I can't see Shigaraki. I don't like him too much as a character yet.
And he's just been such a baby up until now, you know. Like obviously
Yeah.
he needs to grow, and All for One has planned for him to grow.
Yeah.
But it's
He's
so
just
hard
such a
to
passive character, I guess. Like in everything he does, and not just like an unlikable whiny guy, but
I mean, he has
like a
grown
puppet.
and he is doing better.
yeah, he has. So
But
I'm interested to see how, like, just compared to Deku, I feel like Deku has so much more to him so far.
All Might is definitely a worse teacher. And I think that's where it
Yes.
balances out.
Yes.
But
Very true.
when All Might was talking to All for One and was kind of like, "I'm not going to die, I'll prove you wrong, I don't need to abandon Deku for him to become a hero." Like he has to have a plan of where he's planning to go,
Right.
but I have no idea where that is.
Yeah, I don't either, to be honest. It's like they're both gonna get stronger, obviously. I just don't know how,
Yeah.
like where it'll go from here, but it'll be interesting to see.
Well, I guess that's good for the story. It'd be boring if we knew.
Yeah, yeah. So far, I like that parallel. I like the fact also that it doesn't shy like the series doesn't shy away doesn't shy away from showing parents in general. Like Uraraka's when during the sports festival, how it showed her parents, like the fact that she's doing this for her parents,
Yep.
and then that one was a big cry moment for me.
Oh yeah.
When she starts crying, like I just wanted to win so that I could help you guys out.
That was an
got to
emotional
me.
moment.
That got to me. I just like the
Mama
'cause
Midoriya is the best too.
yeah. a lot of times parents are just kind of brushed aside in stories about teens, or like the focus is on the teenagers, and then the parents kind of just fall to the wayside. But the fact that Deku's mom has been a pretty constant figure throughout, like and when he's about to die, his first thoughts are, "I'm sorry, mom. Like, I'm sorry that I'm about to be killed, and I didn't stay safe like you wanted me to."
Yeah, and
I just
even though he like ignores his mother's feelings, he says that even though she's not a big part of his life at this point, like she's still a recurring character, and then like there are consequences obviously when he like doesn't talk to his mom enough.
Yeah, I just really like the fact that the parents are brought in and it's not dismissed.
Yeah, I agree.
So, any other specific thing you want to talk about? Here?
Not too much. I mean, you mentioned that Horikoshi was a big fan of Spider-Man and Naruto as well, and I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was just a 2-second tangent. A lot of people who have watched the show have noticed Deku has some fly kicks. And so like kind of a side thing is Deku has some amazing Air Force Ones. He's sporting the Nikes even in his hero costume, and that's just because
I swear I have seen people wear those.
Hunter used to have Hunter, my brother, used to have that exact same pair of shoes like 10 years before. I mean, way ahead of the curve there, Hunter.
Shout out Hunter.
Yeah, he's not going to get this far. But if he does.
Shout out Hunter.
Yep. But yeah, so it just kind of shows, this is a writer who's very well versed in not only his own culture, the other anime that he's, drawn inspiration from, but also American culture. And that also comes from All Might. Every one of All Might's special attack moves is a city or state in the U.S. My favorite was the Delaware Smash, partially only because the voice actor, the poor Japanese voice actor, had to try to pronounce Delaware. And that was when he just booty smashed Midoriya. So it was incredible all around.
Definitely a great time.
Yeah.
Just another quick tangent then on my end. So during the fight, this is during the camp arc, and it's when Tetsu is fighting the gas manipulator, Mustard.
Yep.
Okay, so at one point Mustard pulls out a gun, right?
Oh my god, yeah, that was
shocking.
actually very intense. I was scared watching that.
Yeah, and of course, Tetsu is like the only guy, and I guess Kirishima, who would have been okay, right, in that situation. But he starts shooting, and then it's pretty shocking because it's the first time you see a gun in the universe, but it kind of makes sense that villains would just carry around guns, right, if they could get their hands on one.
Yeah, like, not everyone's quirk will be able to stop a gun.
Yeah, I know Japan's gun laws, at least in real life, are a bit more strict,
and
or a lot more strict.
The universe, which I don't think we've directly mentioned, is set probably 4 or 5 generations in the future from today's society.
Yes.
It doesn't give an exact year, but they've had a long time to change the way the world works based on superheroes.
Yeah. I think Midoriya at least one point said we'd already be living on Mars or the moon, like, if it weren't for quirks.
Yeah, it's like... And the technology in the show is very subtly advanced, but certainly is. And you see that more in the hero support items than in like the everyday technology like cell phones and stuff, and that's just kind of the way society went.
Yeah, because the focus is on quirks now. But anyways, the point I was going to make was I made a comment one time on that episode discussion of Mustard fighting, and I said, like, I pretty much said the fact that superhero individuals are still vulnerable to man-made weapons is something I always enjoy in superhero media whenever it pops up, right?
Yeah.
And then I said, even All Might, a man whose punches carry so much force they can change atmospheric pressure, can be taken down by a single gunshot if it landed. And a lot of people took issue with that comment. A lot of people said I was fucking wrong, and I don't necessarily think so.
Okay, so All Might in his muscle form, I mean, certainly is gonna buff his defense, but like,
They pretty much their argument was we've seen him tank Bakugo's explosions, right?
that's not a bullet.
But that's what I said. The idea, especially in comic manga verse,
Yeah.
of force does not apply logically. Like when Bakugo gets hit by All Might, during the mock fight,
He should die. If
they should have been dead.
yeah.
Like that, and then people are arguing, well, we've seen Bakugo's blast take down buildings, and All Might tank those blasts. I don't think that's like concussive and blunt force, especially in superhero media, does not work the same way as a bullet or a gunshot does.
All right, unpopular opinion time. I very much dislike the like who would win or like trying to compare feats of like superheroes or comic or manga anime things because it's written by a person with limited knowledge as to how this like the physics of it actually are going to work. First of all, secondly,
Right.
we have lay people with again little knowledge and experience of how this should actually work trying to crunch made up numbers to decide how this would work, like you're saying, Katsuki's explosion versus All Might.
Yeah.
And then even if Bakugo could make an explosion with the force of a bullet, which I extremely doubt, it's spread over so much surface area. The bullet, the whole point of a bullet is that it's the smallest possible surface area, which means it takes less force to enter and exit
Yeah.
any surface.
Right.
But I don't know, man. That just gets under my skin sometimes.
I love who would win and that kind of culture. Like
I like
it's one of
reading
my
it when I
favorites,
don't
but-
care. But almost every
Well-
answer I disagree with. Not that
Mo-
I
most
know.
of the time,
I just
most of the
think-
time the logic works out in my opinion. Especially if you back it up with like the whole idea is you back everything up with feats, right? Like Saitama, just a quick tangent here, but pretty much the idea of the who would win community and any kind of like feat battle is that you only use like feats that has been shown to be true. So One Punch Man is not literally One Punch Man, but up to the anime, which is end of season 1, he is a man who can fly, spoilers, like jump from the moon to Earth in a couple of seconds, which is pretty fucking insane. But that does not mean that he could punch the universe out of existence, right? So,
Well,
like I think using feats to describe stuff like this is a pretty good like thought experiment.
I mean,
for fun.
it's a fun thought experiment, and I don't know. Usually, I agree with them, or I at least get a good laugh out of the sarcastic answers. But when it comes to something that's like been written by so many other people and like has been around for so long that they kind of ran out of the original feats they were putting in, so a character like Superman.
Yeah, well, they usually specify
Yeah.
like post 52, pre 52.
Well, even then, some
almost
writers
always.
have Superman bench pressing the universe, which, first of all, how?
I mean, that's like Silver Age stuff,
And
though, right?
well, I don't know. I'm not debating, but I'm saying like each different writer is going to put something so different on it, and in every age there are at least 12 different writers working on it at a certain time.
Yeah, they usually specify
And
like
someone
I saw
like
recently-
Superman is always as strong as he needs to be, but then
Yeah.
won't be.
Like
yeah.
I saw recently like a Avengers versus like Marvel Cinematic Universe Avengers versus Young Justice team, and those 1v1 matchups.
Yeah.
And I thought like that's really good because you have one specific universe versus another specific universe.
Well, and these are
Like-
the same kind of. They're connected universes too.
Yeah, but like just based off of the feats. Again, the feats shown that they have done here.
Well, see, I like something like
And-
that because it's specific enough that it could be there. But when
Yeah.
you take, and then when you get so far out of that universe to another one, that just there are a lot of things that compare really well, and a lot of things that I don't think compare very well.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're reading I think you're reading some shitty ones.
That's what I'm saying. It's just they're not all great.
Yeah, and that's fair. But the point I was getting at least back to my hero, is that there's no real logical consistency with blunt versus cutting piercing durability unless it has explicitly said so. And to my knowledge, and I could be mistaken, but between the 62 episodes plus the film, I have never seen All Might actually tank a sword, dagger, or bullet.
Well, I mean, Nomu was really strong, like
He
All Might
was.
level strength, but he was able to blunt force cause bleeding in All Might.
Well, he like stabbed him, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. Not
Yeah.
blunt force, but he
Yeah.
stabbed him with his hand, which I mean,
Yeah.
there's only so much sharpness his claws can add to. But anyways, I think using that, a sword or bullet with sufficient force could cut All Might.
but it wouldn't just break. They wouldn't just break on impact of his skin.
No,
Like if I wielded a sword, could I go and cut All Might?
that's questionable. Cause so a sword's sharp, but like if he's coming at you with so much more force than you have, and the angles are right, you might not. You might not even cut him open.
Like I mean, he is tied up like he was in the film. There are AKs on his head. If they shoot him, will he not die? Because that's pretty much what everyone was arguing.
those
Everyone was
bullets?
telling me.
Oh yeah.
Everyone in the thread was saying you're a fucking idiot. He would just sit there and tank them, and I strongly disagree on that.
Well, okay, in that specific situation with how much he was struggling to keep hero form, his head would have. I think either way, he's not tanking bullets if he's just tied up and sitting there.
Yeah, because like
Maybe the
He
first two
dodges,
aren't going to
like-
be fatal, but
because he's fast enough to dodge all of them. Like he gets by with his speed. I don't think there's specific feats for his durability, but this is just something that I've been on a long topic on because I can't stand being wrong if other people don't put up a good enough argument, and I don't think their arguments were good enough.
all right. Well, not getting too far into your arguments online. I definitely think he has upped durability, but not to
Yes.
that point. So like again,
Okay.
if we're just talking AK bullets to his body, I don't think the first one is necessarily going to be fatal, even if it's over a fatal spot. But if you have a couple of bullets and the ability to keep shooting All Might, he's not going to do well against it. He's going
Okay,
to die.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you
just
for
my
validating
opinion.
my opinion.
Yeah, and I kind of
That's
hate
fine.
that I
Your
validated you
opinion-
through this.
Your opinion validates my ego and my opinion. I am satisfied.
Yep.
So before we go into some like overarching favorites, just one last gripe I have about the show. You mentioned this earlier. I do not actually like. I do not like the supporting cast that much.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
I personally think that Horikoshi does not utilize them to their full effect whatsoever.
Okay, I agree with you on that point.
And it's to the point where, like, for any of the girls other than Uraraka, there's nothing there to make me want to watch them on screen. Like,
I would.
Mineta is pure comedy relief, as is Kaminari.
Okay, I could do without Mineta. Kaminari, most of the time, I could do without.
Like
Anna voice and
Kota and Sugar Rush Sato.
yeah, Koda and Sato. I could do without.
But, like,
Sero's
but
cool.
then like, yeah, but you have a cast of 20, right? You should use all of them.
Well, it's a classroom,
there's-
like how often.
But then there's no need to make the like. He specifically made it so that all of them are featured.
so you
But if you're
kind
gonna
of
feature them in the first place, then you should use them.
so you're kind of making a Chekhov's gun argument here, which is that
Not-
if
not
they're
necessarily,
included in
like-
the show, they should be
Like Chekhov's gun would be
utilized.
like Midoriya in the movie saying, or Melissa telling him, your brace has 3 uses. Oh, I wonder how many times he's gonna use this then.
Well,
3 times.
Well, there's that too,
That-
but then there's also the fact that there were the girl characters. There was Alien Queen, Hagakure, and Sue in the hotel room, and we never
Yeah.
saw them again after
Yeah.
they started playing
Yeah.
Uno. So that's kind of what your gripe is.
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah, I guess I get what you're saying when you compare it to Chekhov's gun there. Yeah, it's just like other shows with large ensemble cast, like I guess not necessarily ensemble, because ensemble would mean you use all of them, but just large cast, like Hunter x Hunter or Naruto. I think they utilize all their characters very well, even if they're not important. But I think it's the fact that you have these characters here, like so Hunter x Hunter, the supporting cast, like Zushi, for example. Right?
Oh yeah.
He's not a recurring character, but he feels like they have him in there for the perfect amount of time to where he is relevant, and then he does not overstay his welcome.
Well,
right?
what I like
And then,
is that even though the characters may overstay their welcome, we get to see the growth on all of them and kind of who's going to be all in the
see,
the next
that's the
top
thing
10.
though. I don't
You don't care?
agree with that. It's not that I don't care. I don't agree that any of them have been showing any meaningful growth. Like
Momo has Yaoyaozaru absolutely has had meaningful growth.
yeah, but like there's not a reason to care about her in the first place, in my opinion. Like
She's had enough character development. I actually think she's separated from a lot of the rest of the class.
It just feels tacked on to me, and I just feel like a lot of Momo's character, and maybe this is one mention of like the predictability where I feel like has actually hurt the show, because there's nowhere else for Momo to go other than like from being naive to being more nuanced, like and how she deals with everything, like the naive rich girl.
Well, okay.
I just feel like
you said you really liked Naruto's supporting class, but
yeah,
I'd argue
like I'm talking.
the other ninja.
Yeah, I'm talking
teams.
like early. Yeah. Well, no, yeah, early Naruto. They like by the time you hit tuning exam, right?
Yeah.
That matches up just about to where we are already in My Hero.
Roughly, yeah.
And by that point, you know everything about the rest of the Konoha ninja. Like you know everything about Lee, Neji, their rivalry. You know why Lee cares so much about Sakura, why he hates Sasuke. You know why Shikamaru's team is the way they are, why Shikamaru's a genius. Like, you know so much about all of them.
But again,
and you care about them.
all the characters, I mean, I have the same, like, honestly, I like the supporting class of My Hero a little better, honestly. I don't think any of them really changed that much after the tuning exams for the rest of the show. And, like, when they'd show up, I mean, sometimes they were just, I thought it was gratuitous sometimes.
Like, to me, that's how I feel about My Hero, because by the time you get to, like, Sasuke retrieval arc, right?
Uh-huh.
You have these characters there that each of them, when they have their big fight, like, it's a very meaningful encounter for them. Whereas, like, if we were to have had something like that in My Hero right now, and I realize that this is, like, I'm comparing a show that has, like, double the length of the episodes, right? At the time that I'm talking about.
True.
So I realize that while I'm saying this, but like the Bakugo retrieval arc, right? Momo had no real reason to be there, other than just to make her seem like she. I don't know. I guess I just don't like Momo too much because like Todoroki and Kirishima, Ida, Deku, they all made sense to be there. But if any one of them had gone individually, I wouldn't have cared about them at all, except for Deku going.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't know. I think I understand your point better now, but
Like-
I
like
still don't know that I agree.
My enjoyment of the show completely rides on Deku. Like I said, I think your enjoyment for most people will ride on how much you like or dislike him. But on another thing I think that harms My Hero is that a lot of times they're kind of afraid to shift the perspective away from anything concerning Deku. Like, a lot of the time, it's Deku, Todoroki, Bakugo, All Might, and then sometimes the villains. Like, I absolutely loved the cold open of Twice on the most recent episode.
Oh my god, that was great. You're right.
But, like, why don't you have more just episodes away from the main character?
Well, I hope that's something
to
they'll do.
flesh out the world, right, and to show other characters, but everything is related to Deku. Like everything, like when they talked about the characters, right, and the provisional exam, it was all like Eraserhead was talking about the other characters in relation to Deku and Kachan,
Yeah.
instead of independent of their own merits.
You're absolutely right there. Like they definitely kind of get swept under the rug a good bit. And I
So,
guess I kind of
and-
hope in the future
yeah.
we'll see more reasons to care about them.
Yeah. And I guess that's my thing. Like, I don't dislike them inherently. It's just there's no reason for me to give a shit about any of them.
I mean,
Except for Uraraka, I
fair.
guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just my one, like, absolute biggest dislike about the show is that anytime it focuses on the side cast, it does it in such small volume that, like, you either need to not focus on them at all and sidestep the problem, or start devoting more time and don't be afraid to leave Midoriya's perspective.
I think maybe if Midoriya can get more of his shit together, then it'd be easier for them to leave. But yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah. So, anyways, before we end it, let's go ahead and talk about what we do like about the show, because
Okay.
that, like I said, that's my one biggest dislike, but I still love the show. Mm-hmm. So, how about let's start with this favorite character. Unless in case it wasn't obvious, Midoriya for me. I absolutely love Deku. By far my favorite character. What about you?
I'd say Deku's my favorite character too, but I just kind of wish he wasn't as much of a crybaby. So, kind of.
Oh, really?
I mean, he's better about it now, but he's always so hesitant to jump in and act. And I don't like how rash Bakugo is, but I wish he had a little bit more Bakugo in him.
I don't think he's hesitant to act at all. He
Like I said, he's a lot
what-
better about it, but he spends so much time like thinking like, is it okay to do this? Is it not? Especially like in the Stain incident, he definitely jumped into action. That was like prime Midoriya for me.
In which cases are you referring to that he
Let me-
doesn't? Because I can't think of any that
Let me think.
would seem hesitant.
I wasn't
on his
thinking
part.
of a specific example, but let me try to. I don't know. He did spend a lot of time deliberating on rescue Kachan, but it seemed like he had his mind made up the whole time. Maybe I'm thinking of something else then. So yeah, maybe that's not as much of an argument there.
Yeah. So what were you saying though? Because I lost you there.
Yeah.
Just to get me back up to
So I
speed.
was saying, I actually was wrong about Deku being hesitant. I don't know what I was thinking of, but he actually kind of, thinking back on specific examples, he always has jumped in a lot more. Maybe it's just,
Yeah.
maybe I was just kind of taking the side of him that overthinks things a lot in other situations and applying it to a situation
Okay.
that never really happened. Because I was just going on a general
Yeah.
impression, and I
Okay.
guess I couldn't back it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was about to say I don't think that's the case at all. That's good though. Least favorite important character.
Oh, least favorite important character? Ida.
Really?
I like Ida, but
Okay.
he's very flat.
But of the recurring cast, okay, I might actually agree with you there. I liked him a lot during the Stain arc, but since then and before then, not too much. So
His personality
Yeah,
is one I don't think I've really encountered too much of before, and it's also one
Like
that
like the super straight
I
man.
mean, but he takes it to such a strong degree,
Yeah,
and maybe that's
Yeah.
a Japanese thing.
yeah. In some case, at least in the anime manga sphere, you'll definitely see that archetype.
But we've never kind of seen him relax and just be a person.
Yeah, it's definitely a fairly common archetype in the media's sphere. But that's fair. I mean, that's a fair reason to dislike him, though. Comparatively.
Yeah, and you said of the main cast, he's your least favorite too.
So I might, if I thought about it some more, I might disagree with what I said.
Well, so I guess the question is Momo part of the main cast? Because I feel like you dislike her even more.
Momo is probably my least favorite girl. Like more than just from a personality standpoint, even either her or Jiro. I don't like.
Oh, I
either of
like
them,
Jiro.
but I like Mina a lot, and I like Hagakura a lot, and Uraraka. I dislike Sue after she said that, just because of how strongly she felt about
I
that.
still like Sue, but
can-
it was kind of annoying. Yeah.
But Yeah, I mean overall so someone brought this up, and I kind of mentioned this a few times before to you, I think, but the overall use of females, like the girls aren't really utilized as much as they should be, I think, other than Uraraka.
Yeah.
Like the main cast is still like actions revolve around Todoroki, Bakugo, and Deku, and Todoroki only after the first 13 episodes.
Yeah, that's very
Like
true.
up until then, it was just Bakugo and Deku, and sometimes Ida. That's something like at first I someone wrote an article about it. A big like feminist anime watcher, and at first I was like, "All right, you're full of shit. Like, stop trying to be a super like Tumblr reaction to a show, right?" Mm-hmm. I just thought they were full of shit, but then I read it and I really thought about it, and they are right. A lot of the girls are incredibly underutilized, or just made for like gag pieces.
Yeah, like none of the girls really have any very
Yeah,
strong
like
stories.
like honestly, Toga is probably my favorite girl character. Other like I like Uraraka during the sports festival arc a
Yeah.
lot, but outside of that, like currently, no, not too much. With I'm in love with Deku, not at all.
No, I feel that.
Like Himiko is probably my favorite girl character just because it's interesting to watch her be a psychotic lunatic.
She is psychotic. But yeah, no, I'm really interested to see where that goes, especially because she
Yeah.
has Deku's blood now, so she can turn into him.
Eat this. If Deku wants, he could get her to break her arms just by willing her one for all.
Yup. Then he'd lose it, so not as good.
Let's see. What else do we want to
Yeah,
talk
do you
about?
have any
Favorite? Oh, favorite arc.
favorite arc? That's hard
Like-
for me.
I debated on this one a while when I wrote this in. I think I came to the conclusion that overall my favorite arc has to be the sports festival arc.
See, I was gonna say sports festival's one of my favorites. If USJ lasted longer, maybe. I really liked the Bakugo rescue arc as well.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think I'd have to say sports festival overall. You just see so much of a range from every character.
Yeah, and that's more of what I wish would happen. Like, seeing Tokoyami come in for the first time and like it really flesh him out as a character.
Well, it was
And
the
then the power-
tuning exam equivalent of this.
Yeah.
This,
Oh, absolutely. And seeing everyone like the powers interact, the quirks come together, that is by far like more of what I would like. I realize you can't do a similar setup, for every arc, and you shouldn't. But just seeing focuses on other characters, other motivations is always a fun time that I prefer versus like a one character perspective.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there.
And then, I guess the big one. What's your favorite fight?
Favorite fight? Okay, I feel like I know what yours is, so I'm gonna try to pick something different.
I mean, feel free to pick the same one.
I'll pick it if it's my
you-
favorite, but I'm gonna need some time to think. So,
Okay.
so maybe you should go first.
All right, so my favorite is by far the muscular fight. I mean, it is probably the most like stereotypical battle shonen. I want to beat you more, so I'm going to. There's not much strategy in it whatsoever compared to some other fights. But just the pure emotion that I felt during this was unparalleled in any other part of the series.
Absolutely true.
It completely embodies like Deku being a true hero. Like I said, the voice acting when he apologizes to his mom, I can't stop harping on that because that really freaking got me.
And then in the aftermath,
And then
a couple episodes later, when he shows his mom the letter, oh my god, I was still
Yeah.
feeling just as hype as I did during that fight. He was like, "Mama, look, I was an
Yeah.
actual hero."
Yeah, so to me, it's the muscular fight, no question, as number one. And then probably after that, it would be Todoroki. The Todoroki.
Oh, in the sports festival.
sports festival fight with Deku Todoroki.
That was very good too.
and
Yeah.
then Bakugo v Deku Part 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that.
my favorite's definitely Bakugo v Deku Part 1 and Part 2. If you can combine those into one fight, that'd be my favorite.
That's fair. That's
And
good.
then
yeah.
I also really liked Stain Fight was a classic because that was the first time we saw
that
full
was very
cowling.
good. Yeah.
And yeah, those are my top two, and then third would be Muscular Fight.
Okay. Yeah.
That one would,
A lot.
honestly, maybe I should switch around Stain and Muscular Fight because that was I
Okay,
mean
yeah.
you're right, the voice acting was god tier.
A lot of fans really love United States of Smash. Like it's a.
It was a
favorite,
great fight.
but I liked it, but I didn't think it was anything comparative to the others.
It was I mean
in my
it was
opinion.
sad more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
It was definitely emotional.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't even really consider it a fight so much because I consider the Bakugo rescue as the main part of it, and then All Might kind of extinguishing his flame.
Right.
I don't know. I was honestly just more sad than like impressed or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that fits how I felt.
Okay. Yeah. So is that kind of all we wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, I think that's
All right,
everything. We managed to keep it around the same length for a full series
Yeah,
as a
fulls-
movie. Might not have been as focused, but I think we hit on some really good
Great
points.
job, team. Thanks for listening, you guys. So go ahead and Delaware smash that motherfucking like subscribe button. All right, Ethan, you want to do the outro?
Tell me, listeners, have you ever heard these words?
Go beyond plus ultra!